Title operations. 1. Stop waiting to be ready. Speak with just 12 connecting words. 2. The 12 words that hold every English sentence together. 3. You don't need more vocabulary. You need 12 words you already know. Description. Learn why English fluency isn't about how many words you know, but how you connect the words you already have. In this episode, discover the 12 small connecting words that turn simple sentences into natural, flowing conversation, plus a 2-minute daily exercise to make them automatic. Perfect for ESL learners who feel stuck despite years of studying vocabulary. Learn English, English fluency. Think in English, speak English confidently. English connecting words. English listening practice, ESL speaking practice. Escra EP. TTS ready plain text, no markdown, short paragraphs, numbers spelled out. What if the words you already know are not the problem? What if you have been carrying enough words for years, but nobody ever showed you how to put them together? What if fluency was never about collecting more, but about connecting what you already hold in your hands? I want you to stop for a moment and really think about this. Not scroll past it. Really think, because so many learners tell themselves the same story over and over. I don't have enough words yet. I need one more course, one more list, one more 1,000 words before I am ready to speak. But here is something strange. When you speak your first language, you are not reaching for rare words either. You are using small, ordinary words again and again in almost every sentence you say. And somehow, those ordinary words carry entire conversations, entire relationships, entire lives. So maybe the question was never how many words do I know. Maybe the real question is, how well do I connect the ones I already have? Today I want to show you something small. Something almost too simple to believe at first. 12 words. Just 12. And how they can change the way you speak, starting today, without one single new vocabulary list. Let's talk honestly about the story most learners believe. The story goes like this. Fluent speakers know a huge number of words. 10,000, 20,000, some enormous number that feels almost impossible to reach. So if you want to sound fluent, you must first reach that number. Until then, you are not ready. Until then, you stay quiet, you stay careful, you stay in the notebook instead of in the conversation. This story feels true because it matches what we see. We watch a fluent speaker and think they must know everything. Every word, every phrase, every expression. So we chase that feeling, word by word, hoping that one day we will finally have enough. But notice something. Most of what a fluent speaker says in an ordinary conversation is not rare or advanced at all. It is ordinary. Words like go, want, think, need, because, but, so. Words a young child already uses without effort. The fluency is not hiding in advanced vocabulary. It is hiding somewhere else entirely. Here is the part that surprised me the most when I finally understood it. Vocabulary size and speaking ability are not the same skill. You can know 5,000 words and still freeze in a simple conversation. You can know 500 words and speak with real confidence. The difference is not what is stored in your memory. The difference is what happens the moment you try to connect one thought to the next. Think about it like this. If someone gave you 100 bricks but never showed you how to stack them, you would not have a house. You would have a pile. Vocabulary without connection is a pile of bricks. It looks like progress. It even feels like progress, because the pile keeps growing taller every month. But a pile is not a house, and a pile is not a sentence, and a pile is definitely not a conversation. Ask yourself honestly, how many times have you learned a new word, felt proud, wrote it down carefully, and then never used it again? That word did not fail you. You never gave it a job to do. A word without a connection is a word without a purpose, sitting quietly on a page. waiting for a sentence that never comes. Think about a job interview or a first meeting with new neighbors. In that moment, nobody is testing your vocabulary size. They are listening for whether your thoughts connect. I am new here, so I am still learning the streets. That sentence, built from words a beginner already owns, tells a whole small story. Nobody in that room is silently counting how advanced your words are. They are simply listening to see if what you say makes sense from beginning to end. So, if you have been collecting words for years and still feel stuck, please hear this clearly. The problem was never your memory. The problem was never your intelligence. You were simply never taught the other half of the skill, the half that turns separate words into one flowing thought. That is what we are going to fix today. Here is the shift I want you to make, starting right now. Stop asking, what word am I missing? Start asking, what connection am I missing? Because the truth is simpler and kinder than the story you have been telling yourself. You do not need more material. You need a better bridge between the material you already have. Let me introduce you to 12 words, not new words. Words you have known for a long time. And but, because, so then, also, actually, though, still, anyway, or when. Ordinary, almost boring to look at on a page. And yet, these 12 words are doing something enormous every time a fluent speaker opens their mouth. They are turning isolated pieces into one living thought. Watch what happens with a single sentence. I was tired. Alone, it stops. It is a wall. There is nowhere for the listener to go next. Now watch what one small word does. I was tired, but I kept working. Suddenly the sentence has direction, it has tension. It has a small story hiding inside two simple clauses. Nothing about your vocabulary changed. Only the connection changed, and the whole sentence came alive. Try another one. I woke up late. I missed the bus. Two separate walls, standing next to each other, saying nothing to one another. Now connect them. I woke up late, so I missed the bus. One small word, and suddenly there is cause, there is consequence. There is a small story instead of two disconnected facts. Now imagine a short conversation between two friends. One says, "Are you free this weekend?" The other could answer with two flat sentences. "I have plans on Saturday. I am free on Sunday." That answer is correct, but it feels stiff, like two separate notes played without any melody between them. Now hear the connected version. "I have plans on Saturday, but I am free on Sunday, so let's meet then." Same words, same information, and suddenly it sounds like a real person talking, not a list being read aloud. This is the real difference between someone who sounds hesitant and someone who sounds fluent. It is rarely the size of their vocabulary. It is how naturally they move from one idea to the next, using small, ordinary connecting words, without stopping to search for something impressive. And here is the part that should feel like relief instead of pressure. You do not need to learn these 12 words. You already know every single one of them. You have known them for years. The only thing missing was the decision to use them on purpose every time you speak, instead of leaving your sentences standing alone, like separate islands. From today, your goal is not bigger. Your goal is smaller and much more powerful. Every time you say a simple sentence, ask yourself one question. Can I connect this to one more thought, using one of these 12 words? That single habit, repeated daily, will do more for your fluency than another 6 months of memorizing new vocabulary ever could. Now let's make this real, not just an idea you agree with for a moment and forget by tomorrow. Here is your exercise, and it takes less than 2 minutes. Tonight, before you go to sleep, think of 3 small things that happened to you today. Nothing important, nothing impressive. Maybe, I woke up early, I drank my coffee, I opened my laptop. Ordinary moments, the kind you usually forget by lunchtime. Now say them out loud, but not as 3 separate sentences. Connect them into one flowing thought, using 2 or 3 of the 12 words we just talked about. For example, I woke up early and I drank my coffee, but I opened my laptop late. Notice you did not need one new word. You needed one decision. The decision to connect instead of stop. Do this every single evening for 1 week. 3 small events, connected out loud, using and, but, because, so then, also, actually, though still, anyway, or when. Rotate through different ones each night, so all 12 start to feel comfortable in your mouth, not just familiar on a page. If you want to go one step further, try this during the day, not only at night. When you are waiting for your coffee, or walking to catch a bus, silently connect 2 things you are noticing right now. The coffee is hot, so I will wait a moment. The street is quiet, but the shop is already open. You are not performing for anyone. You are simply training the connection, the same way you would train a muscle, a little every day, until it stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like yourself. And once a week, try a slightly longer version. On a weekend morning, describe your entire morning in one long connected passage, out loud, using as many of the 12 words as you naturally can. I woke up, and the room was quiet, so I stayed in bed a little longer, but then I remembered I had plans, so I finally got up. Notice how the sentence keeps moving, like a small river, instead of stopping every few seconds like a series of separate ponds. This exercise will feel too small to matter. I want to warn you about that feeling now, because it will visit you. Your mind will whisper, this is too simple, this cannot be the answer. But simple and small is exactly how every real skill is built, one quiet repetition at a time, long before it becomes visible to anyone watching. I want you to picture something with me. Imagine your vocabulary as a row of small islands spread across calm water. Every word you have ever learned is one of those islands, solid ground, safe, familiar. For a long time, you may have stood on one island, looking across the water at the next one, telling yourself, I need to make this island bigger before I can move. So, you kept building, more words, bigger islands, taller and wider, again and again. But no matter how big a single island becomes, it is still just one island. Standing on it alone, you still cannot reach the next piece of ground. What you actually needed, this whole time, was never a bigger island, it was a bridge. A bridge does not need to be beautiful. It does not need to be permanent, or impressive, or built by an expert. It only needs to hold your weight long enough to carry you from one island to the next. And, but, because, so then, also actually, any though, still or when. These are your bridges. Small, plain, almost invisible if you are not looking for them. And yet, completely enough to carry an entire thought safely across the water. Some days your bridge will shake under your feet. You will pause in the middle of a sentence, forget which word comes next, feel the wind pull at your balance. This is normal. This happens to every speaker, in every language, on difficult days. A shaking bridge still gets you across. Nobody remembers that your bridge shook a little in the middle. They remember that you arrived safely on the other side, and that your thought made sense from beginning to end. Think of an old wooden bridge in a small village, the kind that has carried people across the same river for generations. It is not shiny. It is not new. Some of its boards creak with every step, and yet it has never once failed to bring someone home. That is exactly what these 12 words are for you. Not elegant, not new, but tested. Reliable and completely enough to carry you across, one ordinary sentence at a time. And notice something else about a river. A river is never made of one giant piece of water sitting still. It is small movements, one after another, each one pulling gently into the next, until together they carry a boat all the way to the sea. Your sentences can move the same way. Not one giant, perfect paragraph, but small thoughts, gently connected, each one pulling into the next, until together they carry your whole idea to the person listening. Here is what I have noticed. Watching learners for a long time, the ones who sound fluent are almost never the ones with the most islands. They are the ones who stopped waiting to build bigger islands and instead started crossing with whatever bridges they already had. Meanwhile, the ones who stay quiet are often standing on enormous islands, full of impressive words, still afraid to take the first step across, because nobody ever told them the bridge was allowed to be this simple. Think about the last time you truly enjoyed listening to someone speak, in any language. Were you impressed by their vocabulary? Or were you carried by how smoothly one thought moved into the next, without a single awkward gap? That smoothness is not luck, and it is not talent. It is 12 small words, used on purpose, thousands of times, until the bridges stopped feeling like effort at all. So from today, stop measuring your progress by how many new islands you have added this month. Start measuring it by how many bridges you actually crossed. A short, simple sentence, spoken out loud and connected all the way through, is worth more than 100 new words sitting quietly in a notebook, waiting for a bridge that never comes. So here is what I want you to remember long after this video ends. You were never missing the words. You were only missing the crossing. Tonight, take 3 small things from your day and connect them out loud using one of your 12 small words. Tomorrow, do it again. It will feel small. It will feel almost too simple to count as real progress. But every fluent speaker you have ever admired built their fluency exactly this way. Not by owning more, but by connecting what they already had, one small bridge at a time, on an ordinary evening, when nobody else was watching. You do not need permission to start. You do not need a bigger vocabulary before you are allowed to speak. You are not far away from the fluency you are chasing. You are one bridge away. So build it tonight, even a small one, even a shaking one, and cross it anyway. Keep your 12 words close this week. Say them until they stop feeling like a list and start feeling like your own voice. That is the moment fluency actually begins, quietly, in an ordinary sentence, connected all the way through. I will see you in the next lesson. Until then, keep connecting the words you already have.